few minutes to begin with our session. Please just get seated. I'm Sanele, and will be facilitating this session and the next one. Just few house rules. I know everyone is feeling a bit tired after lunch. But now we're going to be having the team from SUN, which is Stellenbosch University, Tian Peterson, they will be presenting on digital transformation. I just hope it's not this transformation frenzy that's going around in the country. So I'm sure they're all ready. Tian and the team, please, over to you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tian Peterson. I'm from the Stellenbosch University. I'm a configuration specialist for them, and I'll be joined by my two colleagues, Quentin Laters and Clint Adams. They will also share with us one or two thoughts and take us through basically what was our process the last few years. So it's not just the digital transformation, it's also some physical moves, which I'll go through. We'll quickly just touch on the IT Hub, our incident management in the cloud that's changed in the last 6 months. And obviously the big hoo-ha these days is Office in the cloud. And then Clint will also have a discussion on some of our network availability and whatnot. So the IT Hub was created a few years ago. We noticed that students needed a place to really get help, like a walk-in store. And the IT Hub was created, it was named and created, and it's situated in the heart of campus. And not just only does it serve students, it serves all the students on main campus. It also serves minor incidents for staff. Staff are also welcome to walk in. If they've got a problem on their mobile device or email problem or whatnot, we've got a few of our IT support technicians that are also seated in the IT Hub to also facilitate the support for the staff. So obviously the purpose was to stimulate proficiency and the happiness factor for people to get on with their research on daily lives without having to escalate it to IT for minor issues. Yeah. So obviously students' problems range from something as small as registration of a Mac on a network up to, I don't know which tool to use for my research paper. All of those are handled by the IT Hub. And if they do struggle, obviously it gets escalated to, so I'll say, the more senior staff of IT, the support staff, and we'll always obviously jump in and help. So the IT Hub was not just only a beautiful place, and it's nearly done. It's also got a few kiosks, and this was to facilitate the e-registration process. So a few years back, university started pushing students to e-registration rather than having sat in queues. I remember my first year at varsity, I stood 6.5 hours. It's many years back, but I stood 6.5 hours in the queue to register for all my modules. Some of us know this. We've all been there. These days, much faster. You can do it online. You can do it at the IT Hub. You can go use their kiosks and get yourself registered, and obviously make sure that you can start running classes as soon as possible. The another facility they offer, which is a very cool thing, is that any authenticated user, that's student or staff or a visitor that's got a role from us on the senior side, they can bring their own device from home. And if the device has got Wi-Fi, they'll pick up the Register Me Wi-Fi SSID. And this process basically looks at your PC, makes sure that you're compliant on a security level. So if your Windows updates are behind, it'll simply give you those updates. So it might be a lengthy process, but your computer remains locked and it's safe. It'll update your Windows updates for you to make sure that you've got the right antivirus and up to date as well, to sort of get a compliant level of security on the device. And then it connects you to Marty's Wi-Fi. Marty's Wi-Fi is mostly used by our students, and it's separate. We've got another SSID called Secure, which we use for our staff. So we separate our staffs and students on the SSID to secure on the staff side, secure some more stuff that we'd allow the students just to run free. We don't, we secure as much as we can, but we try to let them roam free. oops, have a quick click, there we go. So it looks quite nice. So in this building, we've got Alistair, who would have done, by the way, Alistair would have, shout out to Alistair, he would have done the, the talk today. He had fallen ill. Alistair and Riyadh is currently our two IT staff at that side with our two technicians. And they're seated behind those glass offices, if you want to call it that. And then Alistair also, there's a few students that every year they come along and they say, I'd like to come and help, and they come and help us in the IT Hub. Quite a nice place. I'm going to move on quickly because we are 3 speakers. Right, so earlier this year we moved over from, yes, that was said, UCT also used it, Heat. And after a long battle with Heat, we won. It was with us since 2000. We logged over 1 million calls on that ticketing system. That's all it was a ticketing system. And we moved over, the start of April, we moved over to ServiceNow Express. And Bradley, that's sitting in front here, and myself, we have had much fun with this, and it's now running. And we've since done about 6,500 incidents on ServiceNow Express, running a full ITIL process. Right, that's basically what ServiceNow Express does. It gives us incident management, problem change, knowledge, asset configuration, which really we didn't have in Heat. It was simply, we did our asset registrations and stuff through there, but it was simply a ticketing system. We can do some more value from ServiceNow Express. And obviously our service catalog, which is also published on our intranet, is now also published in ServiceNow Express. I'm going to skip over that. That's basically our view, admin console on ServiceNow Express. Let me just quickly say, I'm going to say a lot of things about ServiceNow Express, but what I can say, it's very user-friendly and it's very admin-friendly, which is important. It's quick, it's effective, and it just works. You build reports. Those are actually reports. It's called live dashboards, but it's actually a report that you can just pop up to your dashboard, to your home page, and you build from the data up, which is quite nice. It's one of the few ITIL stuff that builds reports from the data up, not down. This is what we've done so far. We've done the service catalog, it's done. We've done the integration with Jira. It is very integration friendly, ServiceNow Express, even though it's the Express version, it's very integration friendly. And we've done the registration of external workers as well. We are provisioning our staff and students later through ADFS with a SAML connector. So basically to register on ServiceNow, you just have to log in for the first time at ServiceNow with your @Sun email address and you are registered. Right, I'd like to invite you to stay afterwards, ask you a few questions, but we are limited for time. I'm going to invite Quentin up to share with us something about Office in the Cloud.
Hi, good afternoon, guys. I'm Quentin from the IT Service Desk, and as Dian mentioned, we moved to a new building, and it's an all open plan, so it's a new dynamic environment that we were used to. Closed offices, now we all open offices, and that we had the huge difference in productivity, because we at the service desk normally just get info from them that okay that has been updated, but now we're working closer to each other, and lucky for us that they involve us with everything. Second level, third level, we have 3 levels of device from the service side. Service desk, second line, that's technical, and system administrator, third level. So now, what's happening over now is that we work much more closer to each other. We involved in planning a lot of all processes, so we can assist the end user much better, and we appreciate that they we get that input from the end user side, because we're the ears and eyes from in IT, so it's much better to assist the end user at the end of the day. So I'm just moving over to the cloud. We had 3 phases moving to the cloud. Back in end of 2013 to beginning of 2014, they decided that would be the best time to move the students over to the cloud, meaning that that less impact for all students that log into the emails to their accounts. So they implemented that end of 13, yeah, as I mentioned, they moved 60,000 students over, and I think it took 1 month to move all the students over to the Office 365, and with the full license. That's, with the full license, yeah. In the second phase was split in two, that was staff members. So the staff members, we moved 2015, end of last year. Again, less impact on the end user side. So we moved 10,000 staff members in approximately a month as well. But that was only for email, because the email was enabled for them so that they predict, or we predict that we're going to have issues with the OneDrive, with the OneDrive personal account and OneDrive work account. So, and we moved that 2 weeks back, I think. Yeah, two to 3 weeks back. We enabled all the staff members for all licensing. You know how? Yep, the full license. So the end of the day, with the transformation that I just wanted to speak to you guys, that from the outside side, from the service desk side, you know, we're the first line of support, and we're always in the firing line. And if we don't know about any updates or process that has been changed, and that's pretty much what our structure has changed, that we involved in all parts of changes within IT, from the service side, and that's very important to us for the end users to assist them better. So now we're much more knowledgeable in handling any service requests, any incidents that we can escalate to the relevant guys who's responsible, to the system owners. And I think that made our job much more easier because of the hands-on that we got from the second and third level guys. And that is, let me just see. Yeah, I think that's basically all from my side. Okay, just handing over to Clint.
Hi guys, I'm Clint Adams from the network team. I do most of the network maintenance on campus, and there's 6 guys in our team. I am one of 4 guys that go out on campus. The other 2 guys are the head network engineers who sits in the office, and I do mainly all the work that they don't want to do. So when Alistair said he was going to present and we have to present, I was asked to give some stats about what we're doing on our campus, network-wise, and what other stuff we're changing to make it better for the students and staff. At this point, we started about in 2010 to change one of the biggest things that we had a problem with, because our campus is on the whole town of Stellenbosch, basically. We had to change all our PSTN lines, which is provided by Telkom, to voice over IP. So that was one of the biggest milestones that the university has sorted out successfully. And that being said, we have fiber optic, multi-mode and single mode running over the whole town of Stellenbosch to supply internet service, email service to all our buildings and to all the people. So I think it was 3 years back, we started to update all our network aggregation layer with 10 gig fiber. So we have about 185 buildings, just more than that in total, on campus in Stellenbosch, Tygerberg, and I think the business school, but they don't really fall under us. And 90% of all that buildings have fiber optics going there. So our voice services run over it, our data services run over it, and our management services. Each office for staff has 100 meg or a 1 gigabit point to the office, at least one. But with the new building revamp and stuff, we are installing 2 network points to each staff member's office, and we are in the process of updating all our voice over IP phones, which are 100 meg downlinks, all to 1 gigabit. And then, from an uptime point of view, we try and give 99% uptime. But there is instances where the network goes down, but it's never more than 3 hours or so that we would let the network be down, unless it's a power-related issue or something like that. And faulty network points and stuff, we don't deal with that in our department as per se. There's an infrastructure department that handles all faulty network points, cabling issues, new points, stuff like that. The only stuff that we are responsible for at the end of the day, if we can fix it, we'll fix sockets at the user. And one of the biggest challenges we've had is wireless. Because our buildings are so old, where in other buildings or modern buildings you would have to install 1 AP, we would have to install 3 to 5 APs because the walls are too thick. So we are currently in the process of addressing that. We have addressed some of the newer revamped buildings, and we're still busy trying to figure out precisely what works best for us, but none of the vendors could provide us a proper AP that goes through our walls. So if there's any questions, I think now's the time to ask the questions, because I was shown the 5-minute card earlier. Oh, yeah, Tian is just going to finish off.
Excellent. Okay, we've got like 3 minutes there for questions. We'll get to questions now. I just want to add that on a technical level, on the networking, as well as on the service now, there's a lot of stuff we couldn't handle or mention today. It'd be great if you have any questions, especially with getting data out of heat. I spent countless hours the last few months getting data out of heat, very old legacy data, how to clean it up. I might be able to help to share a bit of info. If you've got any questions, now's the time. I know we have got 1 or 2 audience members that's ready with questions, so yes, sir. Oh, wait.
Tian, as a percentage of your total registrations, how many people use the kiosks to register? Thumbs up.
It's a good question. Actually, about 90, 88 to 90%. So we're getting there. Almost 100%. Look like that's obviously where you want to be, right? You want to get it totally off the board. Don't have people standing. But yeah, we're at about 90% at the moment. Good question. Questions? There we go. Just waiting for this one. By the way, this is Francois. He's one of our system admins.
The user adoption, Quentin, with the migrations to staff and students being cut over from on-prem to cloud, the influx of calls at the help desk, what was the perceptions? I know there was a survey. Tian, you got the stats on that?
Just to, let me just quickly check. Just get my words. The migration was smooth sailing. There were issues with staff members that was also registered as students. And there was cases of devices that wasn't compatible with the email of students. So to answer your question, that was smooth sailing because of communication beforehand. That was actually done well in advance before the students took the break for the end of year holidays. So that communication beforehand, that definitely helped with issues. So they know there will be instabilities.
So we've got a lot of our students, I'm sure as yours, students and staff also have more than one role. So there could be a staff member and a student, or vice versa. Usually the staff role wins. Obviously you'll have some hiccups there. The adoption of Office 365, I think, was not an adoption, it was more we need it, we want it. So the adoption was great. So I'm on the support side as well, and to be fair to the team that did the work, there were very little incidents that came in now with the staff. And seemingly so, I think it was because it was fairly well the awareness campaign was fairly well done beforehand. Our senior system admins knew what they were doing, secondly, and that helps a bit. So if you've got any questions, that's the man to ask. And thirdly, I think at this point of time, our staff had been working with the students for 2 years already, and they knew what the students could be doing because the students had the full license 2 years prior. So they wanted that, they were ready for it. So it's a combination, but I think overall, great success. Any other questions? I think we have to close up. I implore you to come and ask us questions afterwards, please. It will be great to hear from you. Thank you.
Thanks, Tian and the team. All the best of luck, and hope that your transformation is radical, as everyone says. We're going to move swiftly to our next session, which is under systems administration. And you're going to get Val, University of Technology, Yogesh Naidu. Okay, once again, we have people watching on our YouTube. For the presenters, if they can also just face the camera, please. Thank you.
I don't think we clap for the Stellenbosch guys, by the way. Thank you. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Yogesh Naidu. I'm from Vaal University. I'm going to be talking to you about automation. Okay. Just to get out of the way of the definition and so on. For me, automation is just about working smarter, not harder. So whether it's taking an elevator instead of the stairs or a car instead of walking, it's all about making things quicker, faster, more efficient. Okay. Automation has been given a lot of bad press in the last couple of years with regard to people losing jobs. I mean, we're hearing about McDonald's going fully automated with regard to no more tellers and so on, or even mining industries. And people are scared. But for me, it's just about reducing the human intervention when it comes to automation. Okay, I'm sure most of us, especially over the last couple of days, have been wondering about this. We've seen data centers being set up in hour. This morning we saw that a fully fledged program with Q&A was done in 20 seconds. And the good news is I don't see any IT, I don't see any IT there as yet. But it's not new. I mean, we've heard about the industrial evolution. But automation has been around for a while. I mean, even the Abacus helping us. And IT is all about automation. Making creation of data, information quicker, processing, storing, and exchanging. Okay. Even the humble telephone, I suppose, has now been automated. Benefits, I think, it improves efficiency, throughput, productivity, of course. Predictability, very important. Costs, risk. And it frees up users to take up, workers to take up other roles. And it forces you to do high-level jobs or better things, because the menial type of jobs that are tedious and so on are now automated. So why did we decide to automate at VOT? So basically, capacity was an issue. Products were getting delayed because people were too focused on operational processes. Too busy became the norm. I'm too busy with this request, or I have to do this, or I have to do this. And it was all basically repetitive stuff. So we needed to optimize, be more efficient. And also we wanted to get into this whole proactive culture versus reactive. So planning for automation, okay, which is the topic of this presentation. Firstly, I'm not an automation expert. I don't know much about automation. I've just heard about it, about how Amazon and people were doing 1,000 servers with one person and so on, and decided, okay, let's try it. Okay, so this presentation is basically about some of the things that I should have done if I did it properly. So, initial thoughts. Automation is easy. I mean, if you've seen the YouTube videos, copy and paste, install it, 5 minutes, done. but no. It can be hard, okay? Can be hard. Certain things, when you see it, it works nicely. When you actually do it, days, weeks, months. Wonderful. Yes, okay. Can do a lot of things. Quickly, you can roll out configurations to 500 servers very easily, but it's also dangerous, okay? Misconfigurations. Okay, it's like opening Pandora's box. So, in terms of maturity, I mean, I think some of us might still be around here, while others maybe more higher. Certain services could be all along, okay? But I think it's important to understand your maturity so that you know what you have to do to improve. I'm not sure what comes after self-healing and auto-scaling and things like that. We'll see. So the first question is, you need to decide what you want to automate. And to help you decide that, look at the things that are repetitive. What is time-consuming to you? Standardize. That's very important. I'm going to mention it a lot. Okay? I think that's the easiest one, actually. Okay, and it's all about processes. I spoke about standardized processes. You first focus on the process. It has to be streamlined. Roles and responsibilities have to be clear. And then look at the process and see what parts can you automate. It doesn't have to be like a new tool or whatever it is, but just have a look. A good time to work on documentation. Quality and controls are very important, okay? So also in your process, make sure that you have enough quality and control checks. So once you have the process and you've streamlined it and you decided what parts of it you want to automate, then you need to look at the technology. So it's important to look at current capacity and see how you can use it. For instance, for us, we didn't have much capacity, not much system admins. In fact, the people who were involved in the project, I think their basic knowledge was how to disable SE Linux to get their programs working. So it was mostly developers as such. It's important to research, test, and review. So we research whatever the different tools out there. Normally we choose the top 3, and then we tested, and then after a month or 2, then we reviewed and chose one. And it's always important to benchmark and compare. Because for us, because the skills capacity was low, we had to go with what are the most popular tools out there. So what had the most tutorials, documentation, YouTube videos, of course. Okay, and once we chosen a tool, we had to do it properly, okay? So it's very important to treat it as a project, not just some 2-hour job. Because the more automation products or tools you're going to use, the more important that you have to integrate in future. And of course, there will be resistance to change. People have been used to doing the same thing over and over again. Now you're giving it over to a computer to do it for you automatically. There's a whole culture and mindset change. But it's a good time to upskill. And people should be mindful that the roles will change. You might not need, for example, so many low-level jobs or roles or whatever it is, but more high-level. But the more you automate, the more important human intervention actually becomes. Because you are doing things at such a high level that one mistake or one false move or whatever it is can impact the entire organization, and you might be left with this. Okay, some considerations. So because automated, because there's scripts in place, because you may not be monitoring the scripts, or because the scripts are so generic, it could open up an attack vector for you. Okay, it could also be costly to start to implement automation. Purchasing tools, although we went open source, but it could be high. And of course, it's the unexpected cost as well. I put a question mark there because when I was thinking about it, I said we use open source software. There wasn't too much cost with regard to servers and so on. But the more I thought about it, I realized that yes, the cost of development of staff was actually very high, because instead of taking a system admin 1 day to do it, who was experienced, it took us about 3 to 6 months. So we had to use actually quite a lot of capacity to implement. Okay, these are some of the automation projects we've done over the last year or so. although the VDI project is over a longer period. Okay, so the first important thing was configuration management of our servers. Okay, and for that we're using Ansible. We also did remote logging and passing of the logs using RSS log. Zabbix for alerts. And although we already had backup scripts, we enhanced it and actually fed in the results through custom scripts to Zabbix for monitoring and alerts. Desktop management was enhanced with SSCM. A service desk as well for auto-assigning technicians, monitoring SLAs, violations, and so on. We've already also installed a knowledge base on SharePoint. And this helps with standardized processes, because remember, processes are very important in order to automate them. And finally, virtual desktop infrastructure. So to basically enhance rolling that out. Okay, and some plans for the next year, I hope. Enhance our logging using the Elk stack, okay? And linking it to Intrusion detection systems. Okay, one-time PIN for passwords. I think I noticed today from a lot of presentations that this was actually an issue, and it's an issue for us as well. So we're trying to automate that as well. And then for our development, using containers. Okay, it could change. Azure seems quite nice, although I see containers are part of Azure as well. So we'll have a look at that. And then build a more service-oriented infrastructure so that building apps, development, and so on is quicker. And then looking at database clustering. Currently, we do have master-to-master and master-slave, but we're looking at MariaDB with Galera. Sorry if it's a bit technical for some of you. Okay, so lessons learned. A lot of big companies are using this type of technology already. Amazon, Google, and so on. But these companies also have had problems, major problems, system disruptions, and so on, due to automation. Okay, so it's important, again, to standardize and then automate. And you should encourage your staff to grow and develop. It is a difference, it is a change. It's going to be difficult for them, but I mean, it's all about growing. Again, controls and checks are important. For instance, I'm sure most of us have backup scripts which alerts you maybe successfully or unsuccessfully. Probably unsuccessfully, because I can't imagine you getting 50 emails every night to say backup has been done, backup has been done. But the question is, who watches the watches? How do you know that that email server, the email server, they're saying those emails are actually working? And also think carefully about the human interfaces that you are going to be automating. Initially, we thought about automating service desk to make it more self-service. But then we realized that people like to have that human touch. So we decided to actually stop that project and still continue to let them phone in and so on. So whichever services are customer-facing, I think you should just think very carefully about automating it. That's it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Yogesh. For questions, please.
Hi, Yogesh. I just want to touch on your configuration management.
Yes.
Touching on three stuff. How many devices did you have? And how long did it take you? And what was the feedback?
Okay. I think we had about 20 or 30 servers that we actually piloted it on. It didn't take us too long to actually implement once we've got the basics sorted out. The nice thing about Ansible was that it was agentless. So as long as we had a SSH key or a user on the server, we could actually push commands already. So to actually do it was like about 20 minutes or so on. But once we actually started playing with it, we just did basic stuff. So that took us a bit longer to actually do some more advanced things, maybe a week or two. And the feedback was actually very good. I mean, I think we like it a lot. I think there's much more we can do with it, and we'll definitely continue to use it in the future as such.
Okay. Questions for Yogesh? Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
I think he finished in time. Maybe a round of applause for that. By the way, he still had about 10 minutes to finish. So I'm not sure. I think we should proceed with the program. Our next speaker will then be Gerard Kusen from Northwest University. Okay. 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 So it means we can relax a bit, wait for the other guys to join us. Thanks you.
feels weird. Hello, hello. Klink het okay? Everybody can hear me? Awesome, thank you. Oh, sure. It's only 5 past. It's only 5 past.
Session begins at 5 past. This one. Okay.
Hello. Yes.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen. We now got Gerard Cousins from Northwest University, all the way. Welcome to Durban.
Thank you.
Please, you are presenting on measuring the user experience using a top-down approach, basically instructing. Thanks. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. There was a print error on the schedule. This is the real topic. My name is Gerard Goossens. I'm from the Northwest University Potchefstroom campus. I'm a support specialist working in the operations office. And I'm going to be talking about measuring the user experience using a top-down approach. When it comes to monitoring, there's always a question, how are we going to monitor? And in the modern landscape, there's plenty of tools to use, and it often gets confusing what you should use or how you should monitor, because you've got so many different applications, hardware, etc. It makes it difficult. So once you decide how you're going to monitor, you ask the question, what are we going to monitor? It can be anything, and usually words like that come up. And it gets confusing because you need to focus on certain stuff. Because we are IT professionals, we are obsessed about monitoring, and usually the answer that comes up from what are we going to monitor is this. This causes a couple of problems. And this is where the traditional monitoring has some flaws. So traditional monitoring, or the bottom-up approach, you usually measure stuff like networking, hardware, software, and you will get the overall system health, which is good or bad. So this causes some problems. Problem number one is the increase of tools you need to use, because you can't monitor everything with one tool. There's a lot of tools that you need to monitor or keep an eye on, etc. The second problem is increase of watts. If there's a problem, there's always the question, what's going on? You're not focused on what is the problem. The third problem is the increase of alarms. Because you're monitoring so much stuff, you get lost in alarms if there is a problem. And then in between the chaos, you ask yourself this. What are we trying to do again? And the answer is simple. You just want to know if your system is in a healthy state. So that's the answer to the question. The solution is to use the system as a user, and then to measure the time it takes to perform certain tasks, and then to graph it. And then after some time, you'll get graphs in day, month, week or month view. And this is what is called measuring the user experience. So the user experience, or top-down monitoring, consists of a couple of parts. You measure the user experience with some thresholds or KPIs or whatever you prefer to use, and you will get the overall system health, which is good or bad. So the tool we use to monitor the user experience is Nagios. We use the Nagios Core version. It is free, open source. It is highly customizable. There's many scripts online that you can use. You can write your own. You can customize the scripts that's on there. It's usually Bash scripts or Shell or Python. There's lots of scripts that you can get and customize as you need it. So effectively how we use Nagios is it's a glorified cron job. You schedule the checks every 5 minutes or how often you want to. It saves the performance data, and the results are graphed or saved in ROD files. And if there's a problem, alarms gets generated, and that is all we use it for. So it's only a tool to measure the user experience and to save the data. Like I said previously, how to test the user experience is to use the system as a user, measure how long it takes. This example here is example for email check. So we measure if the email is working. We're not just checking if the port is open or what's the CPU utilization. We actually use the system as a user. So what we do is we have Nagios server that sends out emails to 4 email boxes, each to each of our campuses, and out to Gmail. And then as soon as the email gets delivered, we have a script that sends the email back, and we measure the round trip of the email. This way we know how long the email takes to send and if the service is working. The Gmail example tests more than email because you're using the internet, you're using DNS, etc. So it gives you a pretty good idea that your email is working properly as expected and how long it takes. So if you see anomalies like graphs that's spiking, you can go and investigate what is happening, etc. Another tool we use is WebInject. It's also a free tool that is used to test web applications. WebInject is actually a plugin that you can use on a lot of monitoring systems if you customize it as you want. So it works by writing test cases in XML using the HTML protocol. You can send GET or POST requests to test it. We use this in basically all our web applications, etc. So what we do is we open the home page, the HTML homepage, we log in as a user, we browse the site, and we log out again. So this means you use the system as a user. You log in, you browse, you log out. Then you know how it works, if it works. So here's an example of WebInject code. In this one, there's 4 test cases. We open the home page. We log in using our CAS server for central authentication. And then that request is sent to our Sakai implementation, which we call Ifundi, and then we log out again. I'm just going to zoom into the first test case. What you see there is a description, so you give each case a description, you give it the HTML method, so we ask it to open a page, and then we give it the URL it should open, and then on that page we verify positive. That means we check for a word on that page. So we check for a word that is unique on that page. And then you know that the page did load correctly. And if there was an error message, it will give out the appropriate message. So on the Nagios side, the WebInject result will look like this. So it tells me the system is okay. And on the third line there, it measures how long it took. So it gives you a total time, and it breaks down all 4 cases. So we can see the total time there was 0.6 seconds to do all 4 those cases. Another example of measuring the user experience is for the internet. We monitor it by downloading data from several places around South Africa, and we measure the speed and successful download of the data. And this makes it possible to gauge the quality of service. A picture of what we will see is that. In this picture there's 2 red dots that indicates there's a problem. This will typically mean there is a problem on the CCOM side. That can be congestion or anything. We just test how long the data takes to travel through there. And Bloemfontein is red because all the traffic that would have gone through Seacom is now being channeled through Bloemfontein to Cape Town. So if there's a problem, we can immediately see it on this map and respond if necessary. This map is clickable, so in the white lines between the cities, we can click on the maps and it provides us with the TNet graphs that you can get on the TNet Iris site. We pull it in here and it is also real time. There's another example of the link between Bloem and Cape Town and the Seacom link. I'm sure everybody has seen these graphs. Okay, so how do we use it for the users and how do we as support staff use it? On our IT homepage, there is a link that I've marked red. The staff or anybody can access it from there. On top there is a link if you want to check it out. And from there you get this page. There's also 2 links that you can use to get to here. So this is the status page of the system health. There's 4 categories that we've divided our services into, just to make it more manageable. Otherwise you have a very long list of services. So what will actually happen here is if a service gets degraded, the user experience is degraded, one of those green dots will turn red. And then what will happen is if you click on one of them, it will go through, it will expose the rest of the data that is underneath there. I'm going to be picking on email again because it's a good example. So when you've been at the home page, you click on communication and collaboration. It opens up that tab, and as I said previously, it exposes the rest of the services that we monitor. And then if you click on email, you get that screen that I shared previously. This is the standard view we share for everybody. It is available from outside our network. So users can see, remote students, for example, can log in here and see why the email is not working or why the Sakai isn't working, etc. We also have an advanced view that exposes even more features to the advanced users and the support staff. And this will typically look like this. So on top, you can see it says admin, and the email has got 2 more green dots now, webmail and sendmail. So if I go into the sendmail one, it will show me the emails that is in the sendmail queue at a certain time, a graph over time. And if that graph reaches the thresholds or the warning, it will alarm, go red, and that will propagate all the way through to the communication and collaboration dot that there was. Some features that we have in here is you can change the time periods of the graph to make it easier to see what happened over a certain amount of time. We also have a status feed, so we update if there's problems, etc. on here. We blog it, and anybody can log into the site and see what's going on. So the advantages of the top-down approach is it's easier to troubleshoot, it's easier to do root cause analysis, and because we are transparent to users about what's going on, we build empathy with them so that they understand there is a problem with emails, so just hang on a bit, it will get better. And it's also nice to present the users with a graph that's easy to understand without being too complicated. So I'm sure you will be asking by now, how should we monitor? The top-down approach initially took some time to set up because we had to figure out how are we going to use the system as a user to truly measure the user experience, and there was a lot of code. But because it is selective, we can select which services we want to monitor. It gives limited alarms, and we can be proactive meaning we can see that the service is busy being degraded, and we can react before it goes down completely. The bottom-up approach is easy to implement. You start up a network scanner, it does SMTP checks, and there's all your devices. But it can be overwhelming, and that is also reactive. You will only get an alarm if something is down. One thing that I should say is don't let the tools you use dictate what you need to monitor. We use Nagios because it was easy to leverage it, to use the checks that we need to. But you can use, there's many other platforms available that you can do the same with. So how should you monitor? We use a combined monitoring approach. We measure the user experience with thresholds to get the system health, and we use the traditional method of monitoring with another system. And what happens is, if you look at our group-wise servers, it might be a bit small, we still measure the CPU, the IOs, the network speed, etc. But at the bottom, there is the web inject for the webmail, so the user, it combines everything in one. We don't use Nagios for our main monitoring. There is another system, so I'm not saying go home, switch down your monitoring system and install Nagios. It will not end well. Future development we are planning is for our Wi-Fi to place Raspberry Pis across campus to connect and disconnect at certain times to see if the service actually works, because we are measuring the user experience, and to test the radius service, to log in as a user, authenticate, get a reply that it's okay, and log out. The advantage of this is the system owners is approaching us to add new services. They see the advantage of this, so they ask us to help them monitor their user experiences better. And that is it. Questions? Yes. Yes. We've got Google Analytics on it, so we can track exactly where they go, and then we can see how we can improve it to make it the workflow better for them. Yes, they are using it. Anybody else? Yes. What devices? We can, because like I said in that other slide, it's a combined monitoring. So and as you add the user experience, you do measure the network card on the device as well. So there is thresholds for that as well. But the focus is on measuring the user experience. So say the CPU usage goes to 80%, it's fine. The user experience is not degraded. The server is working hard, that's why we paid thousands of rands for it. So it should work hard. But if it is 100% for an hour, then there's a problem. Then we will get alerted and we will investigate. The ideas about the user experience is can the user still use the system normally? And that's the basis of it.
Okay, some more questions? Okay.
If I might just add a positive note, working in the service desk environment with this helps enormously to lower your users phoning in, because now you've got a system where you can point a user to and they can repeatedly check if GroupWise is working, if there's a problem with your email, and it drops the volumes of calls that actually come into your service desk by a huge amount. It's really, really effective.
Yeah, so there was just some examples of how we measure the user experience. It's a really great way to do it.
Hi there. That web interface lights and things like that. Is
yes.
that part of Nagios, or have you built that custom?
That is all custom code. We are 4 guys working on the project. The main coder, we actually lock him in a basement and just give him food every now and then. He did all of that. It's custom HTML and JSON, etc. So that's all custom code, and we can change it as we like. As we get feedback, we change the way it looks and feels, etc., to make it perfect for everybody to use.
Looks great.
Thank you. Any more questions? Okay. Looks like you're done. Okay. Okay, the next session is going to start at 2:30. Now it's 2:25, so we can stretch our legs for 45 minutes, and then we're going to begin at 2:30. That will be Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, the next presentation is by Val University. Midimir Lucas Rachidi, I understand, is not here, and Yagesh is going to be in for him. So over to you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon. Lucas is unfortunately unable to present today, but I'll be presenting on his behalf. These are his slides, so I'll talk around it. The good news is that while he was the main implementer, I was a stick behind him. So I should be able to answer most of your questions. Okay. So I'm sure we all know what monitoring is. For me, to be honest with you, monitoring didn't really concern me because I wasn't really interested in it. I was more interested in alerts and triggers and so on. But monitoring was a stepping stone to do it. So we had to look at monitoring. As I say, you can't manage what you can't measure. Okay, so before we actually started this journey, clients had to call to alert us about services that were down. Yep, that's what we did. Manually open to check the status of application. Sorry. And at times you had to sort of refresh every 5 minutes when a service was misbehaving as such. So because of these things, I decided to actually say enough is enough. We have to be more proactive. We have to make better use of our time. We want to monitor 24/7. We want to have alerts. So let's now look at actually having a proper monitoring tool. Okay. So these are some of the reasons why. Okay. So we chose Zabbix as a tool. It wasn't really an easy choice. It was a fun choice though, because what I did was, before we actually choose a tool, we normally have, not necessarily a competition, but a nice team building activity. So we chose the top 3 tools. We assign it to groups, and the group pretends that they are IT company. And then the IT company now has to sell that product to us. And it so happened that Zabbix was the best presentation or the best marketing as such. Okay, but it was actually quite nice. Okay, so it's web-based, open source, was easy to set up, works on Linux, and you could basically gather any type of data from the system. This is an example of a Zabbix dashboard. Okay, I think we're about 100 and quite a number of hosts currently being monitored. Okay, so you can monitor the generic stuff: CPU, load average, storage, traffic on the network or on web servers, on databases, and so on. You can even measure security. So if someone changes a password on the Linux box, you get an alert to say, yes, password has been changed, and it's monitored. And whatever services, you can monitor HTTPD, databases, SSH if you want to. So it's actually very, very versatile. And in fact, you can actually monitor many other things. As long as you can create a script to monitor, you can monitor whatever you want. You can monitor backups. You can monitor the number of writes to a database or whatever it is. Okay. So these are some examples of the devices that you can monitor. Web applications, network devices. Okay, so it's very easy to actually create a host. Zabbix is agent-based, meaning that you actually have to install, okay, let me not say have to. To get the most value out of Zabbix, you should install an agent on the system. I think there's Windows agents and Linux agents and so on. So that will basically collect information about the system. But you can also use SNMP and a few other protocols if you don't want to actually install the agent. And all you need is the IP address or host name of that server or device. Okay, there's many templates pre-built and downloadable in Zabbix. So you can, for example, have a specific Linux template or a database template or whatever templates, or create your own template, doesn't really matter. And these templates come predefined with items, measures, triggers, and so on. So it's actually very, very easy to use. Okay. So an example of a monitored host is just basically, yeah. Okay, so as you can see, this is a new server. It already comes with items, triggers, and so on. Immediately you can check the health of it as well, and if it's been monitored. Okay, so triggers. Triggers are very important. Okay, this is one of the reasons why I actually wanted to do monitoring, was to be more proactive. So with a trigger, we can set a threshold for a measure. So we can say, for example, if CPU average is getting about 50%, notify something. Notify somebody, sorry, or notify a group of people. If it's getting 80%, it becomes critical, notify everybody, or whatever it is. Okay, so these are some examples of triggers. Okay. And along with triggers, you can do warnings, escalations, different levels, and so on. So it is actually very versatile. And if someone is actually sitting and monitoring, you can even have audio alarms. Okay. So the nice thing is that once you're collecting the data with your items and the triggers, then you can do alerts. And alerts can be sent via email, SMS, or you can even do scripts. For example, if you find that your web service is down, you could actually automatically run a script to say, restart it, or whatever it is. So auto-healing becomes possible, even auto-scaling for that matter. Okay, this is an example of email alert. Okay, it's a problem, where it was at, and so on. Okay, or you can go to the notification panel on the Zabbix panel, dashboard, sorry, and see what's happening. You can even click to get more information about the host, more graphs, and so on. Okay, these are examples of the graphs. To be honest with you, the default Zabbix graphs, not very pretty, not very exciting. So definitely we have to change it. But the good thing is that there's many plugins for Zabbix. So this one is for graphs. It's called Grafana. As you can see, it's probably about 10 times better than the other one. Okay, much nicer. And of course, you can do the usual stuff, customize it in terms of length, duration, weekly, monthly, and so on. Okay, so some few more graphs. Okay, so it's not exactly our monitoring environment, but we want to build an NOC, or Network Operating Center. So currently what we've done is we just set up some monitors in our office and put some graphs on it. And the nice thing is when people walk past and they see something spiking, they immediately go and check, or come and ask us, or whatever it is. So it just creates a nice atmosphere as well. So we're planning getting some nice monitors and so on. But again, for me, it's more about the alerts and triggers and being able not to worry about anything, because you can sit at home and if there's an issue, maybe something will happen automatically, or to healing again. Okay, thank you very much. Any questions?
Okay. Question time. Sorry if I may ask.
Yes.
How many questions are you expecting?
Five. I think I can take 5.
5 questions. Okay, there's one there. So, 4 more.
How was it difficult to set up, to install and get it working?
No, it wasn't at all. I think the hardest part was actually figuring out that you need to open the firewall for the agent on whichever server you're monitoring and stuff. So it wasn't difficult at all. We even did custom scripts. So for example, for backups, we wanted to test whether A, the MySQL export ran properly, and B, whether the actual compression ran properly as well. So we were testing many things. So it was quite cool to do actually. Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else? Second, third?
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. That concludes the current session, and we're gonna now break for tea until 3:20. I'm sure it's almost ready outside, so you can just enjoy yourself. Thank you.